How's it going, everybody? This is going to be a very, very asked for video finally getting done. This is going to be your best diamond promotion candidates. It was tough to kind of narrow this down to all different game modes and the no-brainer characters and everything like that. So I needed to recruit two of my most knowledgeable Marvel Strike Force friends. Joining me today is going to be Scotty and Daedalus. How are we doing today, boys?
I was about to say, but those two people weren't available, so Scott and Daedalus.
I was going to say that calling us friends is pretty aggressive.
Perfect. And with that, guys, let's jump into it. But first, a word from our sponsors, Raid Shadow Legends. Today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. This huge and successful free-to-play fantasy RPG game has an incredible story, online PvP, and multiple game modes to explore, all with beautiful graphics. There's over 800 champions to choose from, so you could be an orc, an elf, undead, a knight, whatever you want to be, those options are there for you. Raid Shadow Legends wants to give you guys an insane gift, but first you gotta download using that link in the description below or the QR code in the top left corner. But what do they want to give you? They want to give you the rare legendary character Sun Wukong. He is going to help you swing into battle and burst through the early game. His ability to self-res and place massive debuffs on the enemies is going to demolish the early game for you, helping you really get a good foothold in Raid. So if you want to get your hands on this rare legendary character, make sure you enter promo code Monkey King to collect Sun Wukong and a bunch of other goodies. But that's not all. When you download using that link, you're also going to get the epic champion Lightsworn, and once you hit level 15, you get another epic champion, Juliana, who's a boss killer. But don't worry for you returning players, Raid has your back too. If you enter promo code I love Raid, you're going to receive a very generous gift, including the Preserver. This War Maiden has a powerful AoE that decreases the defense of your enemies, which is super rare in Raid. So what are you waiting for? Download using that link in the description below or the QR code. Get all these free gifts and come play Raid Shadow Legends. It is such a fun game. I've been having a blast with it. You will too, and I can't wait to see you there. All right, before we get into too deep waters, we're going to talk about our diamond theory that we each kind of have when we consider our very, very scarce resource of diamonds. So the general impact of diamonds for me was not minimal before. It was impactful. No one really experienced 3 diamonds yet. I think it was kind of a quick trigger to buff them, but now that they've been buffed, I think certain characters with high diamonds are absolutely game-changing. What do you think, Scotty?
I mean, yeah, I faced some 3 diamond characters in Arena War. They are tough to get through.
Yeah, what about you, Dad?
I think that they are powerful, but I don't think that they create like new loss conditions for teams. It's just another incremental power gain that you can be behind on, and then counters don't work if you're too far behind. But they're not like they don't have any interesting effects other than they're just more stats. So as long as you are reasonably close, then it doesn't really change much.
All right, so tall or wide, for me personally, I prefer to take a tall method here because I think that the amount of characters, to your point, that are game-changing with them, it's limited. So to me, there's very few characters that I want to bring really high rather than bringing a bunch to 1 diamond. We're going to talk about some of those characters that are super impactful here in a little bit. But even though it costs, the cost is exponential when we're going from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3, I just think it's worth it. What do you think, Dad?
I agree 100%. Tall is the way. You want the places you're going to put them, you want their impact to be maximum. And it's just like with red stars, right? You target the important people on a team and you kind of ignore the rest.
Yeah. What about you, Scotty?
No, I agree. I'm focusing certain characters and not doing like a broad spectrum thing.
Right on. And then wait or promote. So it doesn't apply to it. I don't think it applies to you guys, but if you say really wanted to get your Robbie Reyes up to 3 diamonds, are you going to hoard your diamond promotion credits, or will you jump the queue and do somebody a little bit worse than Robbie, but somebody that you have at 7 yellow, 7 red, like an Icarus or Kestrel or somebody like that? For me, I think I pull the trigger. I think I go 1 spot down the list, I start promoting them up before waiting on those diamond promos. What about you, Scotty?
Well, now that I'm in charge of your diamond promos, I am waiting. I sat there and waited for Archangel forever and Gambit forever. So
there you go. And Dead?
I think that it depends on where you like to focus. So, for example, if you're an arena player, then absolutely you wait for the important characters there. Modes like Crucible or War, where you need your power a little more spread out, I think taking the incremental gains of taking, your second or third character on the list, if you're waiting on the red or yellow stars, can be valuable. Just to make sure that you can keep up with the other offenses that still matter.
Fair enough. So a little bit of a nuanced pick there. And I think we're all going to agree on this last point. Are you ever going to be coring that store to get those diamond characters to show up, or are you just going to wait it out? What would bet you, Dead?
I'm never going to feel good about it. I'm never going to feel good about it, though I have done it.
Oof. Scotty?
But I don't recommend that.
I have never done it, and I never will do it because I just know I will never see what I want in there if I hit that button.
Yeah. If we could all be a lot more like Scotty in our resource management, they would probably abolish that store. We'd be able to do it directly from the character screens, just so everyone's on the same page. All right, so that's it for theory. Let's talk about what we all can kind of consider the absolute no-brainer characters. And this is in kind of an order. We all agreed that Kang is like the first character to get all 3 diamonds on him. His impact in all the game modes is felt across the board. And even in Arena, with that 5% turn bar he gives on offense, he's always kind of a candidate to make it in again down the road. Why don't you speak to the impact Kang has in War, Dead?
So Kang is a fantastic character because speed in this game rules, right? And he does that on offense, which is where you really want to control things. And he hits like a truck. So those two things combined is a recipe for him to be good for a long time.
Yeah, and I'm kind of spearheading the Crucible portion of this conversation. And in Crucible, you need him to be annihilating people, and you want that Kang Bang to be a finishing blow if it happens to make it that far, just to finish your efficiency. Now, Scotty's spearheading the raid talk. Now, you're not using Kang in raid, right? You just agree and you love Kang as a character.
I mean, I use him in War
Yeah.
a lot, so I definitely agree with him being a very important character.
Right on. A close second, I think, was Robbie. Now, I don't think this surprises anybody now, but on his release, this might have surprised people. So Robbie Reyes seems to be more impactful than Black Cat. Just the damage of his bleeds is nutty, absolutely insane. Why do you guys think Robbie Reyes is just such a beast when it comes to diamonds? Why don't you take this one, Scotty?
I mean, the bleeds especially, like, he just melts my team when I'm facing him or other teams when I'm getting to use him. In Arena, I find he is a deciding factor when you're trying to do that mirror match. Now that everyone is getting more scrolls, like him going off, getting charges, like in War, getting rid of his charges, like when you're trying to counter him is one of the biggest things because otherwise he just does Robbie things and it makes everyone really sad. Like Black Cat is important in her her passive to help basically protect him from getting rewound is important, but getting diamonds on him, like I have faced a 3 diamond Robbie in Arena and it is scary.
Oh yeah. What about you, Dad? How you feel about Robbie?
So I take a little bit of a different stance, and maybe it's just the way that my shard plays out, but I don't think Robbie matters in Arena at all. It's all about Skrull. So when I get to go first with Skrull, I win, and when I don't, I lose, right? That said, in both Crucible and War, Robbie is an absolute all-star on all of those matchups, and he just murders people left and right, and he's fantastic in those places. So it's a weird thing where I think the Arena team in Arena doesn't matter, but everywhere else it does.
Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I've had Arena matches where Robbie Reyes, like, his bleeds just kill Apocalypse, and you're just sitting there like,
Yes.
okay, I guess so.
Same.
Yeah, and then when that
I've had him just go wild, and then I was like, where did my Apocalypse go?
Yeah.
He was about to alt.
Yep, it's like, oh, Apocalypse was finally gonna get his turn. Nope, he's in a pool of blood on the ground from all those bleeds. But nonetheless, we all agree Robbie Reyes insane with those diamonds. In that stage 1 Crucible right now, the whole gimmick is to get Robbie turns so that he gets his speed bar and then he just kills the enemy team. So Robbie definitely a close number 2 to Kang, probably rivaling him, really. Then we have Kestrel. Now, Scotty has a documented past with disagreeing with our Kestrel picks, but even Scotty agreed that Kestrel probably got to make this list. The impact she has in raids, well, Scotty, why don't you speak to that?
I mean, she is a powerhouse on that Pegasus team. Obviously, like, we're not getting to do 2.3 yet, But in 2.2, like the tech nodes are no problem at all, and she's just pinging people. And I've had her like basic someone that's like at half health, and they've just vanished. So in raid, she's obviously very important. Um, but she's important in other modes too. It's not that I hate Kestrel and I don't want to put diamonds on her. I just, at least in raids, I don't see it changing how things are playing out currently.
Yeah, she's kind of got that damage factor already. Why don't you speak to her use in raids or in War, Deb?
So the Pegasus team, right? I remember a certain content creator that will not be named talking about how Pegasus is way too slow to do anything anywhere except for raids. Turns out that was a lie. And so, her job is to hit things, punch them in the face, and she punches them in the face real hard, and diamonds make her do that more. And so everything you want her to do, she does better with more diamonds. And so I'm a pretty big fan. If there's one thing that we learned about her impact before Pegasus was around, is that she will find her way, even when the rest of her team, she will find her way into teams and plug and play that you don't expect. But even in those places, the only thing she wants to do is punch people in the face, and diamonds help her do that. So I'm a big fan on her.
Yeah, in Crucible, first of all, let me push back on the slander that you did. Yes, the Pegasus team does get demolished by faster teams. You throw an Icarus at that team, it's over, because Icarus flips everything, rewinds them, and it's done. Weapon X in War demolishes them. In Crucible, Sinister Six Wafers demolishes them. So no, slow your roll. If you're using older teams that can't kill them in time, duh. But the speed is still like, anyway, I digress, all right? In Crucible, she's amazing with diamonds, especially if you're trying to use your Pegasus into Death Seed. Because if you just erase the 3 people, then it doesn't matter if Archangel did get a kill before Kestra got her turn. So long as you erase people with her special, diamonds are going to help her do that against those like super big upper echelon Death Seed members. And then to Dead's point, if you do have her on defense and somebody goes in with War Dogs in Crucible to try and get through them, well, they're going to get a sneaky victory, and Kestrel pings are going to be the reason why. And also, Scopely characters tend to find their way back into the game, right? Like, we've had Deathpool, now we have Kestrel rework. We're going to talk about Spider Weaver. I'm sure Val is going to always be getting some sort of resurgence into the game, so she feels safe.
I also got to do a rebuttal, and this is a little tip for the people. Against regular rebirths in War with all their stupid new buffs, Pegasus can win. So, it's even like real teams, they do work.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's just the right matchup.
That doesn't get my stamp of approval. Do that with your own risk. The next character, old character, not reworked like Kesher was, but seemingly keeps finding his way back. The old glass cannon Icarus, or he used to be a tanky cannon. Now he's a glass cannon. Kind of had that Black Bolt treatment, but he does some interesting things with his open-end ability. He's flipping buffs, he's doing a turn meter rewind, and if there's some sort of weak character, or he's using his special first and then his ultimate, getting the double tap can absolutely devastate teams. So Icarus makes this list, oddly enough. I know some people are going to push back on that. But the extra damage to him is very impactful. Scotty, why don't you talk about how much fun you have with Icarus? I guess for you it's in War, because it's definitely not in raids.
Yeah, so like in War, I don't think there's ever a War that I don't use the Eternals. It depends what composition I'm using them in. I mean, for Pegasus, they are a fast team, and they are well, they're not a fast team, but they're a thick team. So if Icarus does not take care of them quickly, they are going to be an issue, because once they start popping off, it's game over. So I am finding having him big for that, or like Black Order. He's almost become a little bit more important. I mean, he was always kind of important when we were having to do like the Gamma counter, using them against things like Young Avengers, Hero as Guardians, things like that. But I'm finding more that you really need him with his ult to kill somebody so he can hit again, because otherwise those teams will wreck you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What about you, Dad? How you loving your Icarus and your Eternal combo? Obviously, this is a dual combo we should mention.
Yeah. It is important to say Icarus doesn't exist without Cersei, but Icarus is the one that needs the stats, right? I actually disagree with Scotty a little bit in some finer points, but the bottom line is it's Icarus and the Eternals as a whole is fantastic. They're fun to play with, and they're really good in War still. I don't think that his double tap matters as much. I think because his damage stat has kind of lagged along a little bit. It's not the I'm gonna blow up the entire team all at once that it used to be. But turns out flipping all of your buffs and rewinding you, and then also his partner rewinding you right afterwards, means you either have to go before him, which is hard, or have safeguard. And so they're not going to make every team have safeguard, though a lot of them do. And so he has like a lot of value just because anything that they release that doesn't have one of those two things is susceptible to him shenanigans.
Right on. Well, let me give pushback to your pushback against Scotty. Icarus does a lot of damage, and if you're hitting into characters that are blocking with his special, and you have him at gear tier 18, ISO 5 with 3 diamonds, say goodbye to those people blocking, because that damage is crazy. I was able to beat Rebirth teams with some of the Eternals. Like, I think it was Eternals with Tangled Web. I did like 1,000,000 powered punch up, which was ridiculous. All because when Peggy and US Agent and Captain America all blocked, he hit like an additional, I think it's 2 times, and just evaporated them. And he'll do that in Crucible against Pegasus members. He'll do that against the other blocking team there. Sinister Six. It's very interesting. Well, current Sinister Six, probably not the new Superior Six. But it's interesting what Icarus's special will just randomly pull out of his butt. But then, yeah, obviously, flipping the buffs and doing the Terminator Rewind is crazy powerful. And that leads us to our last no-brainer, Spider Weaver. So another Scopely original. This was kind of tough. We almost didn't put a 5th member on here. She kind of sneaks her way in here just so that we could have a 5th, to be honest with you. Now, she entered the game, one of the most broken characters to ever entered the game. She's quietly gone into the night, but what she does with that damage stat is very impactful. And the teams she often finds herself with against like big infestations, or maybe alongside Doom for Crucible, or just taking on some really like Skrull teams in Crucible, the damage on her is super impactful. Why don't you speak to your experience playing with Spider Weaver, Scotty?
I mean, I use her in War. I mean, I think most people are using her against the infestation team. A lot of it is she is there to protect everyone around her by doing her ult, but she's also super important for taking down, big time Spider-Man's friends while he's standing there and you're just trying not to touch him at all. So I think she still has a lot of plug and play value in War. On an offensive side, and I think Infestation is where she's going to be for a while, unfortunately, because all the other teams that could take out Infestation, we need to do other things.
Right. What about you, Dead?
I think that a lot of that is accurate, right? Right now, she's in a pretty locked-in spot with Infestation because that team is annoying. In War. In Crucible, she's like all over the place, and it's fantastic. I am looking forward to kind of the refresh that they're going to inevitably do on her, like they did with the other 2 original Scopely characters. I'm really curious to see, we talked about, are they going to add another Tangled Web member, or are they going to give her something new, right? I think she has a very unique effect. They all have very unique effects, but hers in particular, with the congratulations, you just don't get to hit me, will have, like, she is a powerful stats-based character, but also a kit-based character with that, in that, she does some stuff that literally nobody else does, and I think that'll have good long staying power.
Yeah, I think they left the door open for some really creative additions to the Tangle Web team, especially because they only put 3 members out. So I think that she's safe. And I think that's going to wrap it up. Crucible, she gets 5 charges instead of 3. Very impactful character. Now she's starting to near the end of, like, the top 5 Crucible teams, and we're starting to get, like, Superior 6, New Warriors, Masters of Evil, all those teams coming in. But I would say that the second we get 2 more War Rooms, or 2 more Crucible Rooms, all of a sudden she becomes a no-brainer MVP character again, right? So the second we need more characters, she's going to pop up. And I think we should end this segment just by looking back at our diamond theory here for a second. Tall or wide? We all agree tall is the way to go. Realistically, for most players, this is it for you. Those 5 characters are probably the best investment for you. Probably in the order Kang, Robbie, then take your pick from the other 3. Probably Icarus, Weaver last. Actually, yeah, it's probably Kang, Robbie, Kestrel. Anyway, but what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about raid characters, war characters, and Crucible characters that we think are uniquely impactful with extra diamonds. We're going to start off with raid, and these are Scotty's recommendations, and we'll talk about our experience along in the raid, me and Dead as well. And then we'll do war, then we'll do Crucible. Then we're going to talk about the Dark Promotion characters, just so you know the flow of the video, because it's going to be a long one. Check out the timestamps. So for raid, the first character on Scotty's list was Iron Fist Orson. Huge surprise that the skill section was even possible this raid at the higher levels. Why don't you talk about some of the characters that could help smooth it out, even though it's already possible, Scotty?
So obviously, it doesn't feel great putting diamonds on characters that are not going to be relevant for much longer. That being said, I kind of started with this because skill is the furthest section away, so very likely is going to be the last team that we get. So we're going to be using invaders in skill for a while, I think. So depending on what your goals are, like if your alliance is like, nope, we're just going to like do the 80% and not really touch skill, then this is not for you. But for alliances like us who are trying to get through skill, waiting for 2.3, and maybe we'll be able to do something there, that's what I'm kind of thinking of. And this is coming from a place of anytime he dies, I have to restart the node. And because I just can't come back from him dying. If his friends die, one of them, I can usually come back from it at that point. But he is an important character, and also like he has a lot of healing. I need him to be alive, so he is a priority for me because I want to be able to get through the skill section on 2.3 as best I can.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As soon as you lose the healing and, of course, the revive, then you can't make it through the node healthy. You got to do a heal. All of a sudden, if you have to do that every single day, you have to heal one character every node every day. Well, you don't have enough healing. You end up dropping into your cores. Nobody wants that. Iron Fist Orson, probably, to me, the #1 raid investment. I brought him to Dark Dimension 6. I immediately regretted it. And then, when this raid came around and the invaders worked, I was like, wait a minute. I'm kind of happy I got a Gear Tier 18 Iron Fist. What about you, Dad? How you feel about Iron Fist Orson?
Yeah, no, I think he's probably, if I'm gonna build one for raids, I think he's the #1. I think you guys both hit it, but I want to underscore it. When you're looking at, in particular, raids, because it's kind of a checkbox game mode where you succeed or you don't, right? There's not an advantage really to being much more powerful than you need to be to exceed, right? When you're looking at how do I make this better for me, look at how you fail and then shore up those things. And the biggest fail condition for skill is this man right here dying. So anything you can do to keep that from happening is a good choice on making your skill daily chores easier.
Agreed. And that'll lead to the next skill MVP that Scotty had up here, Nick Fury. So another invader. I think Nick Fury's rework, everyone's like, whoa, wait a minute, hold up, this guy's awesome, and now he's got a cool skin. Scotty, why don't you talk to us about the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. here, or maybe not, maybe it's Talos.
So he is the second character that, like, if he dies, I get sad and I have a hard time coming back from. And it's not just from I don't want him to die, but also his minions do a lot of work and they hit hard as well. So the more he has on him, the more they're going to do, and the more they're going to survive. Not to disagree with our wonderful content creator, Dorky Dad, but he said he had recommended not summoning on the first skill node because of that Archangel, and I have actually been finding summoning with them and actually using the minions to stun Archangel before he can do anything actually works out better because the minions are also there to soak up hits from other things and protect your main 5, especially Iron Fist. So having more stats on him is a priority for me because I think that's going to help me in the 2.3 when it comes around. It's definitely helping me in the 2.2 because I think I have 1 diamond on him now. And a lot of people are struggling with it, and I sometimes have to restart, but so far I'm actually finding the skill section one of the funner sections to do. Just because there's a lot of like, oh, I need to hit you, and we're not dealing with the timeout issue that we were dealing with in Incursion 1 anymore.
Isn't that crazy?
So you actually get to to think and plan who you're hitting, which is actually a lot more fun now.
Oh, they're so fun in this raid. They're way better in this raid than the last raid. I also want to clarify. Yes, the Archangel getting to turn me a rewind, killing your minions. That's a thought, but I also really liked putting the speed on the Invader team to get Iron Fist Orson to stun the Archangel and go from there. But if you're not having those minions die, then summoning's probably the right call. Dead, how do you like the Director of Shield?
I think he's fun. Oh, sorry, I almost said something. So I think he's really fun. I think he's a really cool character to play with. The minions are fun. Everything about this character is fun. I think, I know I have had a node where everything went south and this happened just a couple days ago in 2-2. Everything went south and I had a Fury and 9 minions and I got through it, right? There's no one else on that team that can do that. I will also say, when we're looking at incidental value, he is one of the better speed up characters that can go anywhere because you can always special on turn 1 and give speed up to everyone else. So as long as you're not going up against a Super Scroll, he is a good speed up character that will get you in a lot of different places in the other modes as well. So I like him.
Yeah, him surviving to be able to do that is great. Also, his minions are now impactful, so plug and play value is absolutely there. And as far as raids go, having a character that kind of flexes well, that's not Kestrel or Val, because they just don't need the diamonds to do the raids, although Kestrel's great outside. Val is awful outside with diamonds. It's a nice little carryover. All right, that's it for the skill section, though. Let's move on to the bio section, which a lot of people are struggling with if they don't have Super Scroll. And if they do have Super Scroll, it can still get hairy. But with a couple extra diamonds, it might not be that bad. Scotty, walk us through Captain Carter, Peggy.
This is another, if she dies, I feel like it's game over. So for me, I want her to be as big as possible, because when there is still RNG, it depends who is getting hit. But her being alive and being able to bring back her friends is super duper important. Her healing is really impactful as well. So she is very important to me. So she is a priority for me for diamonds, because in 2.2, it's can go so I just imagine 2.3, when they quotations fix it, is going to be tougher.
Yeah, I agree. For me, Captain Carter here is a great pick. She's kind of a copy-paste reason for Iron Fist, except they have the benefit of right now, they're great in war. And when the Goblin event comes over, they're obviously needed there as well. So there's kind of a bunch of benefits to Captain Carter here. I like it. What do you think, Dud?
She's a lose condition, so let's make that not happen.
Exactly. Now, there is kind of a problem, though. Like, Peggy Carter surviving is great, but if this man, Captain America, dies, all of a sudden, you don't have just one death. You got a bunch of people that can just die before Peggy Carter gets to bring back Captain America. So why don't you talk to us about your reasoning for having the OG Avenger on here, Scotty?
I mean, he's just another one. Like, if he dies, yes, Peggy can bring him back sometimes. But if someone else dies, if you have both of them, it's just a lot safer. Also with like the whole war thing right now, like he's an important one, because like he's blocking, he's taunting, he's getting healed from Peggy, then he's taunting again, and he's healing his friends if someone dies, and then Peggy's bringing them back. So I just think the two of them together to continue through these raids is just really important. So he's just another priority for diamonds for me.
Agreed. I would also say that Peggy Carter and Captain America, they fit this very comfortable. Could they get reworked? Now, we've already had a bunch of Captain Americas get reworked. We have more Captain Americas in the game. Maybe there'll be a Captain America variant team at some point. Maybe they're going to redo the Avengers at some point. There's always in the back of my head room for like an Iron Man rework. Well, not now that we have Infinity War Iron Man, but maybe Captain America, maybe a Peggy Carter, maybe like an Out of Time team, something like that down the road. I think that's always in the back of my mind. Did I already ask you what you feel about Captain America?
You did not, and you don't have it yet because I forgot about it. But I'm going to send you a picture, and I hope that you put it in the video. In our last war, shout out to my boy Masillo, we had to face a 700k power Captain America. And that was at 2 diamonds. And that's just very unfun to have to go on. Obviously, that's a short-term thing because that's just where we are. But with all the raid value, like if you're into the raid value, that boy is thick.
Yeah.
With 3 C's.
The fun kind of thing. All right, and then here's the fifth member that I forced Scotty to pick 5 people, but maybe he actually really likes this character. We got Dark Beast from the mutant section, which probably is the first section that we get like a new solution to, but I don't know if we need it unless they are buffing 2.3, which they very well might be. With Apocalypse kind of doing a lot of heavy lifting, what's the thought process behind Dark Beast here?
I mean, the mutant nodes are still open to RNG. I have not found a perfect combination that no matter what gets through it. Like APOC is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but Dark Beast dies. It is probably a not gonna go well kind of thing, because he does need to be around to revive people if they die. We're talking about like normal diamonds, because if we were talking about like the dark diamonds, like AA is obviously very important too. But if he dies and Dark Beast is still there, he can bring him back, which I think is very important. He does, you know, buff lifts. Like it's just really important that he does not die, because that's when I find the node goes south. Or you can just have him stand there and do nothing, like I just had happen in raids where he was just stunned the whole time and didn't have to bring back his friends, even if I needed him to.
Yeah, I agree. For all similar reasons for Peggy Carter and for Iron Fist Orson, it makes sense that Dark Beast comes in here. He's got the added benefit of he's assisting on basically every turn. I think there's a -% chance because you have Apocalypse in there, or maybe you have Emma in there, whatever the case may be. But he's assisting quite often. He does bleeds. He's very interesting. He's giving them huge buffs in raids on the offense up and on the speed up. So I completely get it. And they're not bad in Crucible, so a little bit of carryover benefit now as well. We'll see how long they last in Crucible, though. Dead, thoughts on Death Seed and most importantly, Dark Beast?
I think so. I think the mutant team is the oldest, so I think if you're looking at raid teams to get value of it, I think this is probably why Scotty put him 5th. The Death Seed team is probably the first up for replacement. So there's that. That said, I think they do get a lot of incidental value, right? We use them in War. They were an all-star last season. They're still pretty good this season. Use them in Crucible. Turns out Magneto is kind of an evergreen character. He just works for forever. And so this team will be, I think, used for a good long while. And so even if they're not used in their premier mode of raids, I think they will see some use somewhere. And so it's not awful to put them on him.
Yeah, I mean, at the very worst, they might become like an amazing burn team down the road with Magneto's opening blind in some sort of War comp or Crucible comp now that Crucible has exhaust. I could definitely see that.
Yep.
All right, well, that's it for the raid characters. We're going to move on over to Dead specialty. And Scotty's really good at War too, so we're going to have a lot of opinions on this one. So moving on over to the War, we're going to start with a character that I don't think anyone's going to mind putting diamonds on. Number 1 coming in hot is Hardlight. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about Hardlight, Dead?
Yep. So right now, War focuses a lot on where you're putting Super Skull, right?
Yeah.
But outside of that, or even inclusive of that, Secret Defenders is a nutters team, and this is something we've seen. If you look at like the big, bad, scary characters or teams for War, many of them are arena teams. Infinity Watch, Black Order, the Eternals, Darkhold, and now Secret Defenders. Arena teams become war teams, and so especially now when she is the premier arena tank, getting some extra oomph on her can help a lot.
Oh, definitely agree. Scotty, thoughts on Hardlight?
Yeah, I mean, she's a wall to have to get through, so make her bigger and harder to get down so you can't get to her friends.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, moving on to number 2. And the reason we're going to go through the War ones quickly is because me and Dad were talking about this, and with mine, Spotlight 2 with Crucible, the top 5 characters are like the characters we care most about for both of those other modes, which is why they're the top 5 characters. But if we had to pick, Nakia looking pretty damn good in War nowadays, isn't she, Dad? Talk to us about the ring thrower of the Wakanda Nation.
So I will call War Dogs the undisputed kings of the second tier meta.
I agree with that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
They don't beat any of the top tier metas, but they beat all of the just below top tier metas. And Nakia is a big part of that because she hits like a truck with her extra attacks. And just like Kestrel, the only thing you want her to do is hit more like a truck, and more diamonds make that happen.
Yeah, I agree. Scotty, feelings on Nakia?
Same feelings. Like she is a powerhouse of that team. She's pinging people to death. Like we use her all the time, and often the discussion is like, where are we using war dogs? And trying to stretch other people's use of war dogs so that they maybe can't use them where they want to. So they are super duper important.
I agree with that. Now, my min-maxing brain is turned on right now, and if I wanted to put diamonds on a war team and also get use out of it in Crucible, I might start going towards Black Panther 1 million instead. But undoubtedly, if we're looking just at war, Nakia pings are crushing people, absolutely crushing people. So, it's hard to push back against Nakia. All right, then we got Infinity War Thor. This one took me by surprise. Why don't you fill me in, Dad? What's going on? Why do we care about Infinity War Thor?
So one of the problems that Nowhere has that keeps it from being just, and this is problems in a very general sense of the term, that keeps them from being just like super duper dominant in war, is that Nova is a fantastic, amazing character, and then he is surrounded by 4 other nerds. Infinity Watch Thor is the least of those. The least bad of those. He does hit like a truck. He's just slow as a brick, right? But what you need to do, I think, to make this team, aside from like kit redesigns, but in the framework that we have of the game, what you need to do is make waiting for his turns have a better payoff. And putting diamonds on him makes him do that. Like I have had on some good rebound chains where his special like deletes a fully built Gear 18 7/7 Red Hulk, right? And you know, you just really need to invest if you want this team to go big. You need to invest in making his turn when it comes around pay off in a big way.
Yeah, I could agree more. It's just if he survives, it's like, oh wow, everything's gone. We noticed that when we were doing the Black Cat trial for sure. And I mean, look, if there is a god, there will eventually be an endgame team. And Infinity War Thor will have some sort of speed modifications so that he is going quickly and actually at some point using his ult on a team when it matters, not when the team's already dead. What do you think about Infinity War Thor, Scotty?
I agree with that. I wasn't always like, I think when we were initially using Nowhere, like it was against Gamma and like it was pretty straightforward. But then as we're dealing with Apox and Skrulls, like his damage is important when it comes around. Like Nova is obviously like very important, but he needs a friend to help him, and Thor is that friend.
Yeah. Like if God forbid he gets a turn against New Avengers, but when he does, it really helps. It really helps Nova carry the rest of that fight. All right, then we got Spider Weaver. Now we already had this as a no-brainer, but Dad gave me this list before we picked our no-brainers. So why don't we talk about Spider Weaver's use in war just a little bit more? Because I mean, we kind of touched on it all already.
Yeah, we talked about it there. In particular, we talked about the infestation matchup. I think the big reason I put this on here, I don't want to put a caveat that's similar to our Dark promo discussion. Take each of these subsections kind of with a grain of salt, because if you're not, heavily invested in existing Red Stars, these characters are probably not what you should be focusing on. But basically, in war specifically, her miss mechanic is like a lot worse than it is in Crucible, but it is still very strong. And so in the war only mindset, she's harder to slot into places, but because that is such a unique mechanic, she will still slot into places. It's just harder.
Yeah, I agree. Scotty, thoughts on Spider Weaver in war, particularly?
I mean, obviously we use her every war on that infestation team, as I said before, and she's super important. And I think she just will continue to have plug and play, even if that team becomes, irrelevant. We have another option down the road or something like that. And our rework is likely in the future, so I think she is a safe investment.
Right on. And Dad's next pick brought a big smile to my face and probably to Valley Flying's face too, because we're talking Green Hulk. That's right. The Jolly Green Giant did get a rework with his team. Now his team has fallen off a cliff, but if it is going to survive, a lot is contingent on this guy. Why don't we talk about Green Hulk a little bit, Dad?
You are absolutely as wrong as you have been since Zombie Iron Man.
Oh no.
When you said that this team has fallen off a cliff. This team is the primary Skrull counter for all of the Skrulls.
Yeah, hold on a minute. We value war teams based on their defense. We always have. That's what Endgame alliances always have been about. So get off your goddamn high horse. You didn't let me play with my Gamma team for a year and a half, Dad. So I didn't get to enjoy them when they were crushing everything. Now I get to enjoy them when they could actually lose, because Skrull is an absolute nightmare and things can go absolutely wonky. Now, are they the best solution? Yes. So continue your stupid conversation. Leave my name out of your mouth.
I think so. I have been a fan of Green Hulk ever since the three Green Hulks or two in Ultimus 5 or 6, whatever it was, used to just obliterate my Rocket Raccoon, right? His mechanics were always super cool. The health push stuff, as soon as they announced the Gamma rework, I was like, this man is going to be a healer.
Yeah.
Right. I think he's super fun to play with. A lot of those, like the Gamma fight loss conditions, was just like we talked about in raids. The loss conditions for that are Green Hulk dying. So giving him more of a health buffer to do his stupid healer shenanigans, which I love, but then also he hits like a truck. And Diamonds, basically, I think he is the best example of all of the stats, from increased stat things like red stars, ISOs, diamonds, all of it. Every single stat that he gets helps him.
Yeah, I agree. What do we think about this beefcake, Scotty?
I agree, and I come from a place where I luckily got 3 diamonds on him randomly from pull. Like I am glad that we finally get to play with him on offense, because this is what we all wanted for a long time, and I still think they're quite relevant because they are still also helpful against like the big rebirths that we're facing, even if they're not going against Skrulls. Like they can take on a lot of things now on offense. It's just unfortunate for defense that there's so many things that counter them now. But at the same time, that's great because now we get to play with him, and I think he is super important. Like his mechanics are great, and the more health and damage he can have, the better, because he just turn after turn sometimes. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love this character. One of my favorite, most iconic Marvel characters, period. I just hope one day, out of nowhere, we open the game and he's 3 times as big as he is in game. That's all I hope for. All right, so that's going to be it for War for Dead. I think those are some fantastic picks, considering I did kneecap him, and I kneecapped myself too. So moving on over to Crucible, we got I didn't pick 5 options. I forced them to. I couldn't pick 5 options. My first pick though, yeah, I know. My first pick.
You're so rude.
Yeah, well, it's my video, my channel. My first pick is Gambit. Now, here's the thing about Gambit. Really fun, and I just want to make Tana smile at the end of the day. No. So, Gambit with diamonds, he's kind of the only character in the Unlimited team that ever gets to do anything against their counters. Because if you're using New Warriors properly, you're using Masters of Evil properly, Rogue is normally just completely shut down. Sunfire is slow and garbage. Phantom X is straight garbage. And Dazzler, well, she can absolutely rewind you, but for the most part, there's going to be trauma included. So Gambit doing his pings is very nice, and those diamonds help a lot. Plus the extra turns he gets from his passive leading to a special can actually cost you some efficiency. So diamonds on Gambit in particular make the Unlimited team at least a bit of a more efficiency sink. And if using them on offense, well, his damage is really nice. Hopefully there's use for them on offense eventually. It's kind of hard out there right now for the Unlimited members. What do you think about Gambit and the Unlimited team, his use there, Dad? In Crucible.
I think Gambit is kind of in a similar place to where I put Infinity War Thor. In that, in a team that's very easy to just say this is about Rogue, Gambit is equally important to her. So it's a similar place, but more in Gambit's favor because he's better than Infinity War Thor is.
Yeah.
On his team, in his mode.
Yeah. What about you, Scotty?
Also,
go ahead.
He's super fun and super cool, and has some unique mechanics with his always be able to special. So I think he's neat.
Yeah, and maybe one day we get the Gambit, Rogue, Professor X, Cyclops, and Wolverine or Phoenix team. That'd be kind of fun.
Don't tease me.
Don't tease. Yeah, don't tease our friend Red. saying the word Cyclops. Scotty, what do you feel about Gambit?
Same thing. Like he is like the damage dealer. Like people are controlling Rogue, but he's the one that can go wild and end your turn. So I think he is important, especially like it sucks because like the team as a whole like isn't amazing, but just in defense they can be a big efficiency suck.
Yeah, and Gambit's a huge part of the suck. Speaking of suck, Thanos, and for a very similar reason. Now, this is really just for this season right now, but with the Black Order rework and then Stage 3 letting Thanos ultimate on his second turn, a big Thanos devastates people. I almost had my new Warriors evaporated on a turn 2 by a Gear Tier 18 ISO 5 7 Red Star Thanos. I can only imagine if he had 3 diamonds, what his ultimate would have hit like, plus all the rewinds and everything that it does. He's a very mechanically driven character, so him surviving longer is very impactful as well. His ultimate AoE, everything that he does is very cool on that team. And now that he doesn't need the full Black Order team, he can also slide other characters to help kind of peel the focus away from him so that he actually gets to do his stuff. So I do actually like diamonds on Thanos. Also, Thanos being such a huge name in Marvel, I like the idea of him eventually doing other things as well, even if that's just to do a mana battery for a cosmic character like Skrull in the future. I could see that being interesting if he's completely alone, mind you. What do you guys think about Thanos? Why don't we start with you, Scotty? Scotty?
Sorry. He is very scary. Even in war, like his turn meter, like you're trying to get through Cole to get to him, and then you're just watching his speed bar, and you're like, no, don't do it, don't do it. So I do think he is like, especially in Crucible with these room rules, but he makes a lot of sense.
Dead, how do you feel about Thanos? And I guess, yeah, you speak a little bit to his war use as well, won't you?
So Black Order's kind of in a goofy spot in war, which they beat some of the teams, but those teams are kind of rapidly falling out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I have not liked Black Order the entire time they've been in this game, and that doesn't change now. I want him to be worse of an investment than he is, but I think he's a reasonable enough one.
Yeah, especially because he's kind of like the Nova, where it's like, just kind of build up your Thanos and see what happens with the rest of the team. That's what I ran into. A Gear Tier 18, 7 Red Star, ISO 5 Thanos. The rest of the team was nothing. And I almost got caught off guard just by his opening attack, which was crazy. But we are kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here. And we'll finish off my Crucible talk just by talking about Firestar, Sunfire, one of the fire people. Her opening attack with the new Warriors is absolutely crucial. Her bleeds are insane. A lot of people built her up for Dark Dimension 6 just because she's a city mutant character. And we kind of found out like, oh, she slaps. And that's true in Crucible as well with all the extra damage she gets from Cloak and Dagger. So her hitting harder is really great. Some people are going to think, like, why not Deathpool? You know, her passive is fantastic. Yeah, but she needs people to die for the passive to pop off. And it's this girl, Sunfire, Firestar, whatever her name is, that gets that to happen. So I don't hate the idea of diamond investment on her either. What do you think about Firestar / Sunfire, Dead?
I really, really like her. She was actually one of my first picks for DD6. She hits like a truck. She does everything that team wants her to do, and so I think she's a good investment for it. That said, there's like basically no use outside of Crucible for her.
Hold on, a couple days ago you said that New Warriors would be a top 10 war defense team.
They are, yeah, but they're like 10.5 on that list.
Yeah.
Like as basically as soon as we get like one top 20 team, and we may already be there, and we just haven't like figured out the configuration for it. I think New Warriors stop showing up.
Fair enough. And Scotty, what do you think about Firestar? That is her name, Firestar.
I think of that team, her damage is very important. Especially like if you're trying to face things like Gamma still, like getting, She-Hulk down with her is important, or getting her started to go down. In war, I mean, a really big Firestar, we faced them. can be scary, especially in the global rooms as well. Even against things like Infinity Watch, he just hits so hard. So I guess it makes sense from a Crucible aspect, I think.
Right on. And yeah, so I didn't pick a fourth or fifth, but I did kind of have a couple in my head that I thought about. 2099 came to mind, but just the idea of doing it is not really for the damage. It's so that he actually flips buffs and lands his slow and defense down. But that's most important against a team like Darkhold, which are so many of their options. So he would have been my fourth. Then Omega Red came to my head because he's kind of a fun plug and play, but at 120 speed and kind of falling off the meta, didn't make much sense. Wakanda characters, Black Panther 1 million, again, kind of made it in my head, but I just couldn't justify it. And as far as like Titania or Moonstone, well, Kang is doing their job for them, right? So I couldn't pick a fourth or fifth that didn't make me just cringe. And then of the new team, the Superior Six, Kraven, Lizard, Spider Slayer, I think it's too early for me to make like an actual judgment call there. My gut says a super big Kraven will be amazing, but also it's going to come down to how big your Green Goblin is. And on that note, let's go talk about dark promos. I think this is the most interesting conversation to have with how scarce the dark promos are going to be for the everyday player. And I think we're going to kind of buck our own logic, our own diamond theory when it comes to dark promos. Namely, these are the characters that we think are the best. So we got Skrull, Apocalypse, Juggernaut, Quicksilver, and Red Hulk. Only Red Hulk here is currently available to my knowledge. But, Dad, why don't you speak to a little bit of the conversations we had earlier about, like, do you want to wait? Or do you want to, promote who you can now? Why do we kind of flip that idea on its head when it comes to these guys?
I think so some of it depends on the pacing that we're gonna get on these things, right? But right now it looks like in about 60 days 200 people will get 10,000 dark promo credits, which I think is enough to bring up just 1 to 3 diamond and a little bit of change, but I don't think you can do 2, right? So if once every 3 months you get to pick 1 character to bring to 3 diamonds, right? Which may not even be the case with Apocalypse and Skrull. But let's just, if you get to do 1 character every 3 months, Red Hulk will be like, what, more than a year old by that point? Even Juggernaut, right, who is the new hotness and is fantastic, will be 4 or 5 months old by the time we get to do that. And that's assuming you wailed the bejesus out of him and got your red stars, right? So I just don't think, I think that the pacing on the dark promos is so slow that you have to hoard it for the Apocalypse level characters.
Yeah, I agree. If you're buying offers, then a lot of things change. Like Red Hulk's probably the best one to start with, but all of a sudden Archangel starts looking good. Zim, no, but if you're a Mega Kraken, then sure. But the level of the difference in the value of Skrull and Apocalypse versus characters like Juggernaut, Quicksilver, Red Hulk, even Black Cat, Nova, whatever you want to say is like your favorite dark motion character. Skrull and Apocalypse are just so far above both of them, Skrull obviously first, that waiting to see if they're going to pop up or see the sort of pacing Scopely starts laying out is probably the better call. Because if we get our first seasonal payout and then a month and a half in, all of a sudden Apocalypse is available, but you dumped everything into Red Hulk, and all of a sudden everybody else has a 3-diamond Apocalypse, that could change your arena. That could change your war efficiency. That could change your Crucible efficiency. That could affect a lot of things. So it's almost like I want to wait till I'm about to cap out or till I'm about to get a secondary payment before I drop it on an older character like Red Hulk. Even I would do Quicksilver Red Hulk personally just because I like the plug and play value of him kind of being his own team. But that's kind of where my head goes. Scotty, how do you feel about dark promotion diamonds?
I mean, I don't feel like I'm gonna have any anytime soon, so it's just, I feel like by the time I get them, my opinion may change.
Well, that's true. I mean, who knows? By the time the season's over, maybe Apocalypse is already going to be available, and then we're all going to be like, all right, well, let's start working on Apocalypse. We'll get Skrull when we get Skrull. And also, I don't think Skrull's available. No, Skrull's not available to 7 red stars yet, because that would be nightmare fuel. Eventually, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like he's not gonna be. I I feel like he's not, and I hope he's not going to be available into Dark Diamonds anytime soon. So I feel like APOC is more likely going to be the person first, so that'll probably be the pick.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, guys, now this was a long video of 53 minutes, so thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end. Thank you very much to Scotty Dead for doing this with me on a late Monday night. I value these two players' opinions very much, and I've learned a lot and had a lot of success with them by my side, so thank you so much, guys. Make sure you show them some love in the comment sections below. You guys want to say goodbye?
Goodbye,
It's
Internet.
5 minutes past my bedtime. Good night.
Good night, Scotty. Good night, Deddick. Guys, make sure you go ahead and download Raid Shadow Legends using that link in the description below or the QR code that was at the beginning of the video. Have yourselves a fantastic day, a fantastic week, and a fantastic Christmas season, and we will talk soon. Bye for now. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.